Welcome to Caffeinated Mornings, a show built around the idea of more conversation and less presentation. We dive deeper into discussions that go beyond the surface of the work. A big thank you to our sponsors who make this show possible. Today's episode is brought to you by the award-winning, strategically driven, independent, full-service agency, TDA Boulder. And we can't forget Buck Ross Productions and Coop Studios for helping us capture and share this show with you. A special thanks to The Coffee Ride for keeping us caffeinated, and to Realtor Michelle Sander at Live Sotheby's Realty, CU Brand Studios, Snappy Little Numbers for our theme music, Pro Photo Rental, Invisible Window, and Boulder Lifestyle Magazine for their continued support. In this episode, we join everyone's favorite designer and host, Jay Farrakane, for a candid conversation with Larry Olson, founder of Studio Low and a creative leader whose work lives at the intersection of design, strategy, optimism, and adaptation. Together, Jay and Larry explore what it means to stay curious and intentional in a creative industry that never stops changing. From navigating evolving technology and shifting cultural expectations to balancing instinct, relevance, and personal growth, Larry shares perspectives shaped by decades of creative experience and a mindset rooted in optimism rather than fear. The conversation moves beyond trends and tools into something deeper: how creatives evolve over time, how we avoid becoming rigid, and why curiosity may be the most important skill of all. So, settle in, top off your cup, and join us for a thoughtful and caffeinated conversation with Larry Olson. Let's go.
Okay, here we go. For those of you for those of you who don't know him yet, Larry Olson is the founder of Studio Low. He partners with optimistic brands to help them thrive in a constantly changing world. He is a true designer. His work sits at the intersection of strategy, creativity, and purpose. Larry's built a perspective kind of by navigating change head on, leaning into the things we might not expect, and then embracing them rather than resisting it. And helping others do the same with intention, curiosity, and a forward-looking mindset. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how he got here, how he approaches change and adaptation, and then also the role of optimism in his work and everything that it takes to stay curious through it all. So we're going to take a quick look at some of his work here. So we're going to all sit back, listen to little tunes, and check out some cool visuals from our friend Larry. Well, thank you, Larry. It's always you did a great job sitting through that, by the way, because it's not easy to sit through your own work. But it's fascinating. I know you guys probably recognize a lot of those brands, and it's funny for me to look at it and know some of the backside stories of those. Number one, wide-reaching, across so many industries, but the stuff you've created are with community members in this room too, which is really cool. I'm super excited to dive into this talk with you because I feel like we've known each other for so long, but we've only recently gotten the opportunities I know I did that hack at Fortnite with you, and I got to see your optimism and your excitement. And you were talking earlier about that draw of energy you can get off of other people.
Yeah.
And I think you put a lot back into that room too, which was really cool. I knew you were busting my balls about you were taking notes and stuff. It's because I'm not very good at what I do. I'm like, if I get left behind, I'm going to be in trouble. But I could really sense like you wanted to do the right thing and how you brought your ideas to the table. And that was a fascinating thing because your background being in traditional design, but primarily working a lot in your life in advertising. I kind of felt like most of my life is very design oriented, and only recently I've been kind of doing ads, and it's such a shift for me to watch a pro like you, and you get up there, and I think you guys wrote a jingle and sang and shit. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so out of my class here. But anyway, I've been super excited to sit down with you since that moment and say what's up. So I just want to jump into it and kind of have you take us back to the beginning, if you will, to how you kind of found your way into the creative world. Like, what pulled you into design and like creative initially? Was there like a calling or?
I was like an F+ student in school.
F+.
And so there wasn't a lot of options, So I was good at playground, and I was good at coloring and staying in the lines. And
You don't stay in the lines, though.
so there's very few, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, there wasn't a lot of, I just remember tracing Star Wars posters with tracing paper all the time. And I'm like, God, if I could do this. And I remember I told my dad one time, I'm like, he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, I want to make movies. I want to be a director. And he's like, oh my God, that's 1 in a million chance. You'll starve to death. And then I saw
Thanks for the
Nike
encouragement,
commercials.
Dad.
And then I saw Nike commercials, and they were like small movies. They were like, like this is in the 90s, late 80s. And I'm like, damn, that was super cool. Maybe I could do that.
And it's interesting where this is all Minneapolis area?
Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, how did you end up in Minneapolis? Because that's a fascinating town to me as like a creative hub.
Yeah.
How did you end up there?
So I cut my teeth at a little agency in Milwaukee, built my book, and then went out to Seattle, and then worked in Portland and Seattle at different agencies and freelanced out there. And then there was a startup agency by a couple of guys from Fallon called Mono, and it was just like 4 people at the time.
You say it casually, like it's not a big deal, Mono.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the time, it was just 4 people,
Yeah.
And so my family and I moved to Minneapolis, and I think I was like the 5th person hired, and we grew it from like, 5 people to 105 people at the time, and it was just like I found my creative people. It's just everyone was just smart and on it, and the founders just did things differently. Like we worked in teams of 3. It was a writer,
This was fascinating to me.
art director, and a designer, and so that was a really cool exchange of ideas because traditional designers, graphic designers, just think differently than ad people. People, it's like, that's quick. How fast can we get that idea across? And I just worked with these really smart guys and gals that they just thought further out. Like they thought like design thinking. Like, well, how does that
Systems and
how does that system play out, and how does that work? And at first I was like, I don't know how it works. We're building the idea. Who cares
Right.
about how it works down that far? Let's just get. And then I just learned the discipline of like really trying to think through it horizontally.
Yeah.
Where I was just kind of going off the dopamine hit of like, oh, that's an idea. Let's
Yeah.
get that down. And
That's what was neat to look at your work because I do see it has a horizontal to it, and in the case, like it is not one-offs, and that to me is like where I think a lot of times advertising for me, I always like, even when I was working on campaigns, I wanted to take it further out, and then they're like, no, it like ran its course already.
Yeah.
I know I had visions in my career when I was kind of finishing design school. I thought I was going to design like albums for like Metallica and Tool and shit, but there's like 6 people on earth that do that, and I was really sorely mistaken and disappointed because I ended up working on like B2B software brands, and that's kind of how I cut my teeth. Where do you think your career was going to go? Did you have a pre-envisionment of like, this is the kind of shit I want to do?
In the beginning, I didn't. I just wanted to, in the beginning, it was really selfish. It was like, I just wanted to build a book. And then as soon as you got like 12 or 15 solid pieces in your portfolio, then I'm like, oh, now I can go and start
shopping around.
finding the next gig, So it was really transactional. It was really about myself. And then as I got older, started to figure out like, oh no, like that's pretty transactional. And then I got really interested in growing businesses. And I think I then started to mature a bit more in the thinking around like, oh, we have a skill that we can help accelerate businesses. And I think once I started thinking that way, I got really invested in the clients, and I would like fall in love with like a new brand. And I would, if I was ever at a cocktail party, because I go to them all the time, Jay, tons of cocktail parties.
You have like a red velvet jacket.
Tons of
it's
them.
neat.
And I would tell everybody about this cool brand, like, oh, yeah, there's this cool brand that does this and this. And then as soon as they would drop the agency 6 months later or 16 months later, I'd be like, oh, they're the worst. Don't ever use that product. They're horrible people. They're horrible. Don't ever use that.
Nike is terrible. Apple sucks. Yeah.
But yes, there was, and then I was working at Mono. Then I had these 3 goals I wanted to have. I wanted to have a national campaign. I wanted to have a Times Square takeover, and I wanted to win a gold pencil. And that was like, the epitome. It was like the Academy Awards in advertising. And in a window of like 6 weeks, all those things happened. And I was in New York, and I was at a client dinner, and I excused myself because this Times Square takeover was going to
happen. You got to go see it like live. Yeah.
So I excused myself. I got my food in a little doggy bag, and I like ran down to Times Square, and I'm in Times Square, and it was like all the signs flip over.
Yeah.
And it felt awesome for like a second. It was super like, oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, look at all these months of work finally resulted in something.
And now I'm walking back to my hotel room with my doggy bag, and I'm alone in the hotel room eating out of like this doggy bag, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought it would be,
Right.
I thought I would be hoisted up on people's shoulders and run around the agency.
And people in Times Square were going to be like,
finally
you
a
did
success.
this? Yeah.
And call my mom like, I'm a success, Mom. And that feeling didn't happen, and it kind of felt like I was lost after that for a while. And this is like, and I kind of went into like this weird creative
Like a hole.
and I was lost.
When you set the intention of like, I'm going to get the gold pencil, I want to do takeover, all of those things, is that like physical documentation or just I had the thought? This is what I want to do.
I had the thought.
Yeah.
And so this is when I'm at Minneapolis at Mono. And so we had Apple. We did all the retail design inside of Apple. We had projects for Brand Jordan and was working on MSNBC. And at the time, MSNBC was just a news channel. And we were in this pitch. And we got this like large document, a global document on human behavior around politics and issues. And there was this line in it that conservative-minded people, they want to go back. They want to go back to traditional values, and progressive-minded people want to go forward. And they think that our best days are still ahead. And I really responded to that thought, and because it just felt like America's just a bunch of mutts and like entrepreneurial, madmen. We build rockets, like we hopped in ships from Europe, came across, hit the East Coast, hopped in wagons, all the way to the West Coast, build rockets. We created rock and roll and blue jeans and funny cars, and it just seemed really American to like be forward moving. And so we created this campaign called Lean Forward. It was called like America doesn't lean left or right, it leans forward. And that really catapulted MSNBC, and it helped give them a rudder to their programming. And
I think some of that stuff stands today.
Yeah.
Too. I think it's funny because when I talk to ad people and I hear about a campaign build and then they become like the lifeblood of the brand.
Yeah.
It's an interesting reward. That's a rewarding part.
Yeah.
You were talking about the cold shoulder, the cold cliff, if you will, of advertising.
Yeah.
When it's out, you're kind of like, what did I just fucking do for 4 months?
Yeah, right.
Brand, for some reason, I get that a lot less when I do design projects because you're like, I always joke, I had this experience with where my dad saw me in a shoe store.
Yeah.
And I was like in there with my skate friends that I didn't know he was in there. And he just had this look on his face that he was like, I'm proud of you. You're not fucking around stealing stuff. And I was like, I feel like I look at my brands every once in a while. I'm like, oh, you're out there doing good in the world. And like, you have to have some of that value when you look at NBC or MSNBC now.
So it was just really personal because it was like, I just wrote about, it was like a love letter of all the things I believed in and the values I believed in. And it just caught wind, and that putting like so much of my heart and soul into that. And so then after doing that for a while, that's when I hit those 3 pillars, you know, those 3 goals, and it kind of cratered.
So what's the outcome of that? Like when you kind of have that, is it an opportunity moment to be like, okay, what are we going to do different?
Well, I think you kind of, you know, for me, my process is I'll like, woe is me.
Yeah.
And I'll,
I think a lot of us are. Yeah.
You know, what's wrong? And I then hit like my sort of emotional rock bottom of feeling sorry for myself. And then I'll put a plan together and like start digging out. And that just seems to be my pattern is I'll sink and I'll hit, you know, the woe is me moment. And then I'll get pissed at myself, like, God damn it, stop you doing, and start putting a plan together and dig myself out.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of creatively lost, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll go back to, and at the time I was the creative director on these accounts, and I was on a plane all the time, and I was traveling all the time. And so I resigned, and I'm like, I'll go back to freelancing. And the guys at Mono are the super awesome guys. They just said, you know, don't quit, just hang out. Do you want to just go back and be an art director and designer? And I said, yeah, I'll do that. Because I wanted to get off planes.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I wrote down Chris, who's one of the founders of Mono. He gave me this sounds so funny to say this, and people might giggle, but the DVD of The Secret.
Oh, I know The Secret. Yeah.
Secret.
Yeah.
The Secret.
Yeah.
And he gave me.
There's some truth in it.
He gave me all the qualifiers, like don't get caught up in this and don't get caught up on this. But I totally got caught up in all of it. I was just like, yes. So I wrote down on a Post-it note 3 things. I wrote, I want to live in the mountains, I want to work on something meaningful, and I want to work with inspiring people. And I put it on my Post-it note on my monitor, and no shit. Like 3 weeks later, I'm having a Zoom call or a Skype call with Alex Bogusky about a job in Boulder to come and work with Al Gore on climate change.
Yep.
And I was just...
I remember like a bunch of you showed up, and there was a groundswell around that.
Yeah, it was like 2012.
Yeah, it had
there's a lot
was a
of creative
vibe to
energy
it,
in Boulder. Yeah, there's Made and School and all these agencies were popping up, and it was really vibrant. A lot of entrepreneurial people were just creating things. So it was a really cool time. And I just learned a lot. I was just surrounded by these, Danye Scott, who is the head planner at Crispin, and she was doing all the strategy. So what was really interesting is it went from like thinking about how to sell products and trying to understand people, and Alex and Danye were looking at, and the vice president were looking at like how humans make decisions, like societal decisions. And that was really interesting, and I learned so much from being in those rooms and listening to them talk about how to change public opinion and thoughts. And
well, I think that's, you know, it's funny. You keep coming back to like things that I gravitated towards early on, and that I always envisioned as like adjacent to design. One of the best designers I ever met, she was at this first studio I worked at, and she was the only one that ever talked to me, and she was great. And she would show me how to do weird things in like Quark and those days. But I remember one day, like I asked her about her background, and it blew my mind because she was an anthropology background. And I'm like, how did you get into the design? And she's like, exactly what you're talking about. It was understanding where we came from, why do we do the things we do?
Yeah.
And then when you can get to that part, I think you're way ahead of the insights world of that advertising like dives into now.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think understanding human behavior, understanding why we do what we do or make decisions, and then having, I think something I learned a lot from them was just having empathy for the audience or the user, and that's something that the more just think about that, like empathy, I think is great craftsmen, like anybody, like designers or artists. There's this one phrase I heard that quality is how does it go again? Is the ability to see that the person behind this cared.
Huh.
And when you think about that, and you have like go to a really nice restaurant or a really nice hotel, and everything is thought out, like, God, this is like or a really great product that's designed really intuitively. And they've done all of the hard thinking to make it easier for us,
Yeah.
And it just works. And when it just works, you get those like, oh, I love this app or I love this thing, because they've done all the hard work and they've thought about us. They've thought about the pain points of what it's like. And so having that empathy for us, I
Yeah.
think, is craft and quality.
Well, and I think that's actually the heart of design too, whereas is empathy, it's not a joke, that design is always trying to be as objective as possible. So if we're designing for people we don't know, we have to try and truly empathize with them or understand them.
Yeah.
You mentioned early on, like being around all these people where you got to like learn from them and see these kind of like considerations made. When you kind of think about like the new crop of students, the thing that kind of is, where's the next like front line come from and the workforce for creativity. And like, if I think about junior talent today, it's interesting because you're like, how do you get these opportunities to do this, just sit in the room kind of stuff? And I know we can get into YouTube, but do you have any recommendations about like, hey, junior people, you got to start paying attention to this? Because that's the thing we see is there's not a lot of this entry level, sit in a room kind of stuff happening so that they can learn these like almost unteachable values that you would get in a design school.
Yeah. God, that's a good question. I think one of the questions, if I was in the shoes, was how can I add value? And when you're just starting out, it's hard to add value because you're still learning your craft. So what I've heard other people do, which I thought was really cool, is they DM someone they really like, and they offer up like 6 months of free work, like just to be in the room.
Right.
And I think so much of this business is around pedigree. Like, oh, you work there? Oh, you
There's an
worked
understanding
with this
of
person. And so it's a lot of perception and reality. So if you like could DM, I'll just say, I don't know.
Stefan Sagmeister or something like that.
Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And
Sure. Okay.
Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And you said, hey, I'll give you a year of free work, and then if you did that and like worked side jobs or whatever you could do to just get in the room with those types of people, and you walk out and you say, hey, I worked with Jay-Z for a year, people would like, I'm going to hire this guy. He's
Totally.
super cool.
I do think it is an interesting.
I don't even know if Jay-Z's still cool anymore.
But I think there's a relevance there. But it is I think it's important for creatives to be intentional about where they go, because this is a funny field, right? Like, because if you're not, you can just like, you fall in the river and you're going to end up.
Yeah, I remember there's this great ad guru legend, Bob Berry, and like back in the day. And I remember him saying, just go where the work is. Like, don't worry about the money yet,
Yeah.
And he just stayed close to the work his whole career. He said he never wanted a corner office. He wanted to be out in like the cubicle world where all the ideas were happening. And I would say the same, like if you're young, go where the work is, and don't get caught up in your buddy who's making this amount of money over there, and just play the long game, because if you go where the work is, it's going to be a longer road, but it's the long game, and you're going to be in a better position.
It's funny you mentioned Bob Berry.
Yeah.
Because you have, like, I think all designers, creative people, every human on earth should have a hero of some sort. You've actually met yours. You worked at the same studio as Bob. Want to tell the hot tub story?
Oh yeah, no, I didn't. So Mono. So Jay and I talked earlier this week, and he's like, "Oh, I have 30 minutes. Can you talk?"
We
and
talked
catch
like
up?
90.
Yeah, we talked for like close to 2 hours, and then he called me again. He's like, "Hey, just checking in." And we talked for like another 90 minutes, and we just kept talking and talking. So yeah, no, like growing up in Milwaukee, like Fallon in the 80s and 90s was this like killer
Legend.
agency.
Yeah.
They just were doing really cool things, and like back in the day, there was like you'd buy these award shows and you'd thumb through it and you'd see these names just reappearing on every page, you know, like, and Bob Berry's name was in all these award books, and I'm like, God, this guy's everywhere. And fast forward, you know, like 10 years later, I'm working at Mono, and his wife Chris was a producer on these commercials for
That you were working on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at Mono, and. She's like, "Hey, come on over this week and bring the kids. We'll swim in the pool." And so we went, and then she's married to Bob Berry. And that afternoon, I'm like, like half naked with Bob in a hot tub, you know. And I'm like sitting with my hero, and we're talking about R2-D2 and Star Wars. And
See, but the funny thing is when you peel that back and the you know, you get the weirdness out of the way of like who this person is and what they've done. They're a normal person. We were talking about going to shows and meeting musicians and stuff like that. You also were like in the theme of heroes. You were mentioning being inspired by people like David Byrne or Paul McCartney, and those mainly because they're still evolving and they're still curious. And you even asked me at this. You're like, how do you stay relevant? But I'm going to put that back on you. Is like. I've known you for years, and I think that it's interesting that like I've finally getting to hear these stories in you, and then on the topic of evolution, I still see you as the guy I met 15 years ago, but we are all different too. And I think in the best kind of ways, I think creatives, it's an industry that you have to be on top of things. But like, do you feel like you're still evolving and changing as you kind of move through work and the way you take clients and balance personal life?
I'd like to think so, but it's totally felt like I haven't been evolving when you were promoting this talk, and like the photo on LinkedIn is like 15 years ago, and I'm like, oh God, I should probably
I only have
update
places
that.
I can steal them on the internet, man.
So maybe I'm not relevant and not evolving.
You just haven't. You've been so busy, you haven't updated your headshot. That's it. That's all that is.
So like I think my taste. I think having the self-awareness that I think my taste now is larger than my skills, and that I can't create the things that I have in my head anymore. And so I'm aware that my skills are like, my taste is still there, but my craft of making it isn't there, if I'm totally honest.
Interesting.
And so what I do is I want to work with people I just love the hell out of their work. So if like a good test of mine is like, if their work makes me jealous, then I want to work with them, you know? And so I then try to work with people who are just more talented, better, and I'll try to help guide them. And that's usually now how I'm being part of like good work.
I think
I'm not making it, is that I'm pulling the right people in and setting them up in a situation for them to make great work.
I think that's a very mature creative mindset, though, because like I might still be a little guilty of like I can do it all myself. And even though like you, my taste level is probably I don't have the skills to go and do something like really finessed or high end or something, or super minimal maybe even too. It is interesting. There's a skill I often talk with students about, like I can help you learn layout, I can help you learn hierarchy, all of these kind of things. But the one skill I used to say it half jokingly, and now I'm kind of, I can't help you be curious. That's the one skill I cannot teach you. Why do you think curiosity is so critical to being a successful creative?
That's the thing. That's the skill, or is it a skill? Is it?
I don't know. Is it innate and can be cultured? Like,
all my favorite people, all the people who inspire me are crazy curious. Like, I love getting coffees with friends who are really curious, artists and musicians that are really curious and like doing different things. Like we were talking about David Byrne.
Yeah.
Like he'll write a book about biking, and then he'll do a play, and then he'll do this concert with no wires, and it's like got dance numbers, and he's still doing like really weird things, and some are home runs and some are bunts, and but he keeps doing different things, and and I really admire that, and I just admire people who have more questions than answers.
Yeah. I do think that is the kind of like, that's my one thing I keep coming back to, that until AI develops a curiosity, we're all going to be kind of okay at the moment.
I think curiosity, especially in the world of AI, being curious, because it's bringing you answers, it's bringing you solutions, but if you keep unpacking it, then ask it some more and ask it some more, and I think that it'll be really interesting to see how education, now that all the answers are out there,
Right.
we need to learn to go and find them and suss out, is that a dead end, or do we keep going? Do you keep asking more questions?
Well, that's the thing that I've been finding out, like in my work where I'm using it in like a bunch of different facets, is that I don't know if you ever get to a singular end answer. It's like a constant recombining kind of thing. And, like we even had this idea of like talking about like finding an idea. I think we might even have talked a little bit about like, will I have an idea?
Yeah.
And I was giving you this notion of like, I used to kind of enter into projects with like the mindset of this is going to be the best thing I've ever made.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I don't know if I'm trying to remove myself from the pressure of it in some way, but I actually look at it with more curiosity. I'm more of like, I'm super curious what this is going to become.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a total shit show?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be something freaking awesome? I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is yet. But
making something is such an unexplainable, magical art. There's something about, putting words and images and colors together. It's like a 1 + 1 = 3 combination. It doesn't make sense. And when you get in those moments where you feel that burst of energy, though you were surprised, it's a great feeling. And
that's the addictive part of doing it, right? Because all of a sudden you get this, like, I don't suck. I'm not the worst person on earth.
Yeah.
I didn't avoid my family for 4 months. Whatever all that stuff is, it kind of like, in some weird way, you're like, oh, shit, I found it, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of thing. And I think it's a danger and a joy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You have navigated like multiple waves in your professional life, agency, digital, now we're looking at AI stuff. It is kind of funny that when I think about the industry as a whole though, like what hasn't been changing in it forever, right? Like advertising went from print to digital. Now then, like Crispin was making apps because was what new ads were and things like that. So in some weird way where the world likes to talk about like all this shit is happening, I feel like it in some weird way, it's the constant change is what's the norm. But do you feel different about like the new adoption of tools, new things coming into our lives? Like you even like, you're working in industries that you might not have worked in a few years ago. But that's like, to me, that just seems like, that's how this goes, dude. But like some people seem really hemmed in on it these days about like, this is changing and I don't know how to deal. I mean, there's articles written in Adweek all the time about like, this thing changed and it killed the whole thing. But doesn't it birth something else too?
100%. I mean, change is inevitable. And I think the more that we embrace change, like personally, relationships, they don't last. They come and go. They change. They grow, and so like accepting that things aren't fixed. That it's like a river. Everything is flowing and changing, and being able to ride that wave of change, I think, is healthy, and I think a great skill in this creative arts is adaptation.
Yeah.
Changing, like especially like now when you need to be large, you can pull together a bunch of freelancers and build a team. If you need to be really surgical and really small, you can just bring one person. So, and with AI and different platforms and accounting software, like you can get super tiny and super small footprint and be super agile and quick, you know, and then you can also scale up. So I think having that will and understanding of that flex, and that the being able to adapt is, I think, really important.
It is interesting too, because I think one of the things that where my pause comes from when I think about the creative industries is whenever I see someone go, "That's not how you do it." Because I had a creative director tell me really early on is if you ever think there's only one way to do something, you might as well just
there's
stop.
100 pathways to success.
But that's what trips me out about that. Some creative, elements within our creative world. When I hear people talk about these like very fixed notions, this is how we do it, and blah blah blah. I'm like, you're fucked. really, in some weird way. Do you? We were talking about skills. Like, talk a little bit about like skills that you believe like creatives should really hold on to or try and like cultivate and build. Because I know one of them was that you were talking about was this notion of like working on yourself. A lot of times, like, it comes back to, like, before you can go do good work for people, you really need to understand,
I know what you're saying. So Jay and I were talking about this. I think one of the greatest investments a creative or someone just getting into the business can invest in is really investing in understanding their inner world. Their self. There's the outer world, red lights and friends and clients and all of that. The outer world you can't control, but the inner world, meaning how hard you're going to work, the perception you bring to things. Early in my career, my work was attached to my identity. So if the work was sold, I was a success. If it didn't sell, I sucked, and maybe I should find. And then you have a couple of bad meetings, and you're like, oh, maybe I need to look for another occupation.
Work in finance or something.
Yeah, that wouldn't be for me. I still, anytime I'm at another cocktail party, because
this is where all our best ideas are shared.
And then when someone says they're in finance, I have no idea what it is. I just go, oh, cool, awesome.
Do you ever just color in cells in Excel? I do.
It's so, what were we talking about?
About skills and like basically the idea of like working on yourself.
Oh, working on yourself.
That is like, it's important because I feel like it was very recently where I started to have the ability, and I call it design maturity. It's like you reach this point of like starting to ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing?
So then, I was saying that I was a success if the work sold, if it didn't sell. And it's a shit way to live life, And so in this business, you experience way more rejection. You come up with 50 ideas, maybe 3 make it to the meeting, so that's 47 if my math is right. Got rejected, and now you go to a meeting with 3, and they may shit can all 3, or one may move forward. So there's the amount of rejection.
Cutting room floor, I call that. Like there's a lot of shit in there.
Way larger than actually your success rate. And so I started, just in my own process, especially moving here in Boulder, and just seeing people's thought process. I started getting into reading Buddhism and understanding that a lot more, and that really filtered into just my perspective of work. And I used to show up at client meetings, and I would say, okay, I got to sell. I got to sell them. What do I have to tell them to convince them to buy this idea or hire the studio? What do I need to say? And it was about me. And it was, I need this. I want this. I'll get a paycheck from it. I'll get a portfolio piece from it.
Right.
Me. And I found myself like I would get anxiety around it. And I would then find myself not being authentic because I was trying to just say what they needed to hear. And then I started thinking about, okay, they have a problem they need to solve. You know, they need to sell this product. They need to grow as a business. I can do that using design and creative thinking and strategy. So I have this service. So I'm here. I can help them. And so as soon as it stopped becoming about me and like, oh, they have a problem that I can help them solve, and it became about service, you know, and I'm here to help them, that anxiety went away. And I started listening better. I started understanding their problems a lot more. And I stopped trying to wear this mask of what do they need to see or hear for them to move forward. And I was able to give my true thoughts on their business, like giving free ideas away, like not giving ideas, but saying things like, you know, whoever you move forward with, this is some things you should think about, you know, as you move forward.
Right. You're building value in a way that is
Would
truthful.
bring value to that. And so it just felt.
Because you care, though.
Yeah.
Too. Like, that's the other thing is, like, a lot of times I think most creative people I know, I put them in the category of ridiculously responsible.
Yeah.
Right? Because even we don't get the work.
Yeah.
You're doing things like, hey, even if we don't have the opportunity to work together, please consider, like, make sure whoever you do work with thinks about these things.
Yeah.
So those kind of recommendations, I think, are.
I think if you got to care. And I like, the best thing about this business are the people. Like, creative people are my favorite types of people. I love talking about movies, bands, magazines, bands, you know, like.
That's what I'm usually going to
I
talk
know.
about. Bands or skateboarding.
Yeah,
That's
it's
gonna be
the best.
Yeah.
It's the best. And they're so fun, and that's what makes this industry so damn fun. And so you got to like the people you're working with. And so I try to find those people that working with, like, on the client side. And there's something funny that happens when you sit in a conference room, you're behind a conference room table, that everyone acts all business-like. But then if you're on a trail with those same people,
Different conversation.
it's a different conversation. So I just try to remember that, you know, they're friends or they have pressures that they need to grow the business. And so I try to approach it with empathy, like, okay, how can I help this guy succeed?
I think
know?
that there is a funny moment, like I know in my own career, I felt like I showed up for the first 10 or 15 years of my career as who I thought my clients wanted me to be.
Yes.
And then there was this moment where I'm like, that's a lot of shit to carry around.
Yeah.
Like, and then so I started moving towards a model of, like, I'm just going to tell you like it is. And it was like game changer.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I think everyone wants to work on something meaningful and purposeful, and you can find that in work. And just, it doesn't need to be drilling wells in Africa.
Right.
It can be, you know, working with a company that you like, and you like the people and you want them to succeed, and you can bring that purpose to, like, I want to help these guys grow, and I want to help this product get on the shelf, and I want to see it, you know.
I keep hearing you come back to, like, very design-oriented things, not advertising. Whereas, like, you know, the joker in me would be like, you know, advertising is trying to steal shit out of your pockets.
Yeah.
Whereas I think design's really often in this much more of a communication field. Hey, we want you to understand this.
Yeah.
And whatever that byproduct is, education,
Yeah.
prosperity, whatever it is an interesting construct, because you are coming at it, because when you stopped making it about you, now it is objective. I'm looking at this at the lens which will make your business the best.
Yeah.
And I had a moment where I did start going like, oh, my job isn't to just make cool shit. My job is to help make businesses, like, better businesses. And it was a very defining moment. I took over one of my first creative direction jobs, and I had redone their website, and this guy comes into my office and he looks kind of mad. And I was like, what the fuck? What? Like, he's like, you do this new website? And I'm like, yep, super cool, right? And he goes, where's our phone number?
Oh,
And I was like, oh,
no.
shit.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh my God. So it was my first realization of, like, I need to understand the real problems here, and how are we going to let this business do business versus the veneer of the brand. So, okay, we're going to move into our lightning round.
All right.
You ready for this? It's quick fire. Get ready. I think you're going to do great. So there's no right answers, no wrong answers. Well, maybe there is. Evolution or curiosity? If you had to pick one.
Curiosity.
Intention or instinct?
Intention.
Curiosity or discipline?
Discipline.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Beautiful or interesting?
I'll say interesting.
Okay. Optimism or realism?
Realistically optimistic.
There you go. Because I was going to ask that. I know with your optimism lens, sometimes and I've heard this actually about Alex, is people have said he's dangerously optimistic in some way because the shit will be burning down around him. And he's like, no, it's fine. We're going to be great, you know? But that's awesome. I like that combo. Trend aware or trend resistant?
I'm super suspect of trends because they have a short shelf life.
Yeah, I agree. I think that aiming for, it's funny, like when you look at permanence and like even in art or like logos that we all love from 100 years ago, I don't think anyone entered into it with the idea of like, how long will this last? Or what's it compared to what's out there today? Adapt fast or wait and see?
Adapt fast.
Control or collaboration?
Collaboration.
I think that's an interesting thing too, is some of the best creative directors I ever met. It's fascinating. They have such a singular view, but the trust they have and the ability of like letting other people execute it. That's one of my slights on myself.
I think when you're younger, it's competitive. You know, you're trying to get your work in the meetings and stuff. And then I think there's a point where the collaboration of creating something is the best. It's like such a transfer of energy, and like when someone else has a cool idea, I get a buzz from it.
Yeah, when you realize how much better ideas can get with participation, it's kind of crazy. Okay, in a word, one word, advertising today.
Thin.
Okay, in 2 words, creativity today.
Joyous.
Okay, I like it. All right, so when you zoom out, kind of looking back at your career, like, what actually matters? Is it the work? Is it the people?
Oh,
is
the
it
people.
the friends?
It's the people. It's the people. 100% it's the people. Not like that's a no-brainer. I just met some of my best friends making stuff. It's been behind some of my best days. Like working with great people makes Sunday nights like excited to get into work because you get to go hang with friends.
Yeah.
And it's
I don't think there's
people.
many industries like this, that where you kind of have that vibe of like the people that I was working with were so
it's the
like
best.
they made it great.
Yeah.
And then I feel like even you and I circles, everyone in this room, like Boulder is the Front Range is very unique in this world of like, I cannot have seen you for a year.
Yeah.
But then we just pick up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I don't feel like that happens.
Yeah, Boulder's got a great tight
like, vibe.
creative community.
Yeah.
It's good people here.
It's different now. It's different than those days you were talking about, like the golden era, where it was like there was all these agencies. But now I feel like it's just distributed people that are fantastic, which is
we'll
really
see what
interesting.
Sundance does. We'll probably get really creative, a lot of filmmakers maybe, and
you can rent your house out for like $5 million. If I asked Larry 20 years ago to define optimism, would your answer be the same today as it was?
I probably wouldn't have known it. I probably didn't even know what that word meant 20 years ago. Yeah, probably not.
What was your, like 20 years ago, what was the mechanism making you want to do work?
I just loved creating things and loved collecting work and seeing things. I loved, that sort of 1 + 1 = 3 combination, whether that was working with people or putting something together and you get that burst of energy. It's a weird business and it feels
Super
pretty
weird.
good, and it can also be pretty,
It does have those moments of your like drudgery or just like bottom of you're like, dude, why am I even doing this?
Yeah. All my friends growing up, they're all like, man, you've always liked your job, and they've hated their jobs or whatever, just like buddies that do other things that grew up with since grade school. And they used to, it was so funny, in taking graphic design in college, they would always call it arts and crafts. How's arts and crafts?
Do you think about or talk about work when you're not working?
Maybe creativity, but I don't, if I'm maybe with ad people or designers, I will talk about it, but mostly I like talking about creativity or bands and movies and getting all buzzed up thinking about
Yeah.
talking about just the world of creativity or zines.
Yeah. Cool shit. So if I asked you today to define optimism, how would you describe it?
God, that's a good one, Jay. Damn. I don't know.
Is it a feeling?
I think it's just like knowing that eventually it's all okay. Like it's always going to work out, even when it sucks. You know, like it doesn't, the shitty parts don't last, the good parts don't last, and that it always is just, it's okay.
I love it. Well, that's a great place to stop. I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.